Aloha, I'm Kirsten Baumgart-Turner, and this is Sustainable Hawaii, airing live every Tuesday from noon to 12:30 at the Think Tech Hawaii studio in downtown Honolulu. Tomorrow, June 8th, is World Oceans Day, a United Nations recognized event. This year, individuals and organizations across our blue planet are celebrating with the theme, Healthy Oceans, Healthy Planet. A healthy world ocean is critical to our survival. Oceans generate most of the oxygen we breathe. They help feed us, they regulate our climate, they clean the water we drink, they offer a pharmacopoeia of medicines, and they provide limitless recreation, fun, and inspiration. To honor World Ocean Day, I've invited talented educators and leaders from our state and federal government, from Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument and World Heritage Site. We're going to try and say that many times without blinking. William Aila, Deputy Director of Department of Hawaiian Homelands, brings his experience as harbor master for 24 years at Waianae Boat Harbor and his former leadership as Director of Department of Land and Natural Resources to help advocate on behalf of ocean resources for Hawaii. Andy Collins, working for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's National Marine Sanctuaries since 2001, has led and participated in several expeditions in the remote northwestern Hawaiian Islands. And he manages education teams spread across 3 of the main Hawaiian Islands. Welcome, Andy and William, to Sustainable Hawaii.
Hello, Kristen.
Oh, thank you.
I'm delighted to have both of you. You represent both the state and the federal side of managing resources, and I know you've both been very intimately involved in both establishing Papahanaumokuakea and keeping it going. So, William, tell me, what got you involved in ocean resources? I know Waianae Boat Harbor wasn't the beginning.
No, from, I guess, as soon as I could walk, I could walk to the ocean shoreline and get to the water, so that is my introduction. I come from a family that of fishermen, a family of ocean practitioners, so it was not difficult to understand my place in the order of things.
So you were raised with a little bit of subsistence focus on the marine resources?
I was very fortunate to be raised by my great-grandmother, so to have access to that pool of knowledge, both of ocean resources and of Hawaiian culture and Hawaiian practices. I was very, very fortunate.
So that's one reason I know that you bring a very culturally sensitive perspective to all that you have done and do on behalf of us at the state, and we appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Andy, what got you interested in ocean resources?
Well, I grew up on a different ocean. I grew up on the Atlantic Ocean, but technically they're all one ocean. So I grew up on the World Ocean in New York, and I was always playing in the ocean, going out fishing, and developed a love for it, and took that up as a course of study at first, and then kind of went away from it for a little while. And then 20 years ago or so, when I came to Hawaii, I was very much excited to be here, to have the mountains and the ocean. I love to go out kayaking and scuba diving, and I just feel very much at home in the ocean. And I was just recently scuba diving this last weekend, and every time I go down, like my whole heart rate goes down, everything calms. It's just, I feel like I should have been born a fish. And so since then, I've been very involved in ocean-related issues and Papahanaumokuakea for the last 15 years almost.
Well, we're really fortunate that both of you have this affinity with marine resources that are so important to Hawaii. Tell us why Papahanaumokuakea is so important for the state, but as well as the country and the whole world.
Start, Andy?
Sure. Well, a very small percentage of our oceans are actually protected. I mean, it's around 2.5%, somewhere in 2.5% of the oceans are protected. And we utilize the oceans, like you mentioned when you opened, they provide our oxygen, they regulate our climate, we get millions, billions of people around the planet are dependent upon it for protein and food, and yet we don't really understand a lot of what's going on in the ocean. 95% of it's unexplored, and so we don't really know enough to really say what's going on in the ocean completely. So we really need to protect certain areas like Papahanaumokuakea and other areas, other large-scale areas, because we don't know what's there. We need to preserve these areas for our future, and they provide many benefits to us that they might not otherwise if we don't have this protection. So for that vein, Papahanaumokuakea is really important to Hawaii and to the world.
William, why the northwestern Hawaiian Islands? What is so special about them?
Well, from a Hawaiian perspective, we have the extension of, in geologic terms, the youngest island to the oldest island, which is Curia, and you can even actually go to the Emperor Seamounts, which are older islands created by the same hotspot. So the emergent land and the seamounts up in Papahanaumokuakea actually represent the elder generation of the geology of Hawaii, if you will. At Necker or Moku Mana Mana is the dividing line between Ao, which is light, life, and Po, which is the afterlife and darkness. So that particular place is extremely important to Native Hawaiians who honor their religion that talks about souls after the body, after the soul leaves the body, traveling westward to arrive at that particular spot where they're met by their ancestors and judge whether worthy or not worthy to enter into that realm with them. So it's a very spiritual place, and if you ask anyone, Hawaiian, non-Hawaiian, the spiritual energy in Papahanaumokuakea is magnified many, many times over with respect to other special places in Hawaii because of that location, and it resides at the Tropic of Capricorn also. So it's the northernmost extent of the sun's travels, and the ancient navigators recognized that, which is why all these temples were built on Moku Mana Mana. In recognition of its importance. For future generations, the importance of Moku Mana Mana, the importance of Papahanaumokuakea is it is located in the subtropics. The northernmost islands are located in the subtropics. So as the oceans warm up, this will be the last place in the entire world that coral will be able to survive. And so it is a huge insurance policy for the world's corals and fish and invertebrates that rely on corals for survival.
Well, I know that as I go online and do a little bit of research for World Oceans Day, I came across a lot of Australian efforts to get the word out about the rapid demise of the Great Barrier Reef. And most of us who are not Native Hawaiian and not involved with NOAA or the Department of Land and Natural Resources, Marine Resources divisions, the focus has always been on the Great Barrier Reef and the Caribbean for our knowledge about reefs. We don't hear about, and there's been very little understood, I think, generally in the world, about the importance of the Native Hawaiian cultural attachment, but also our biology, our biota out on the reef. One of the things you pointed out is that it's basically the center of the world, right? We're the most isolated continental or isolated landmass from any continent in the world. So adding to that, the cultural significance just gives me
and we're just beginning to scratch underneath the surface, if you will, in Papahanaumokuakea in terms of research that's going on. And the latest research is some of the latest finds up there, the world's oldest living organism, a black coral that is more than 4,000 years old. So think about this coral started growing prior to the building of the pyramids.
My goodness.
The largest sponge ever discovered in the world, the size of a minivan. Many.
And it's living still. That's the importance.
It's living.
Right. At what depth are these being discovered?
These are being discovered at depths
4,000
meters.
Yeah, so 12,000 feet.
Yeah, so life exists at those depths. It's not just mud, and as more investigation or more research is done on individual newly discovered seamounts out there, we find endemism. We find organisms that have never been described before, new species. There's a species of lipoa, or so a very fragrant seaweed that is found in the main Hawaiian Islands, and there's one found in, I think, 300 feet of water, and has the same fragrant smell.
My goodness. I know that we have a slide for some endemic fishes from one of the atolls in the islands. I think it's slide 10 if you can find that, Zuri. Zuri is always trying to keep up with our...
Yeah,
there we
there.
go. Thank you, Zuri.
Yeah, that's either from Pearl and Hermes or from Curie, but we just recently published a paper yesterday in the journal, Biodiversity Journal, that shows that 100% of the fish that they're finding at deeper than scuba depth, so this is like down 200, 300 feet, but 100% of the fish in that area are endemic. That means they're found nowhere else in the world. They're found only in the Hawaiian archipelago. And that's the highest rate of marine endemism recorded in the world. And so that's very significant, because if those areas go away or if they're damaged, those species go away forever.
And let me clarify that, so marine endemism means they're only found there.
Only found in the Hawaiian archipelago.
Okay.
Yeah, so it could be, it's typically, endemism is located to an area that has similar geographic and biophysical features, and the Hawaiian archipelago has that.
And I know you also have a slide from an intertidal expedition that was done on some opihi. Can you explain what that expedition was about?
Yeah, it's a really unique expedition. We have it's an intertidal survey, which basically means the interface between land and water. And we have a expedition that goes out every year, and it's a combination of Western science with traditional knowledge, practitioners who study opihi, study how it lives, and count the opihi on these islands. That one is from Hokulea. We had another slide that has the opihi with somebody looking at them very closely. But opihi is very important in Hawaiian culture. It's very important to fishermen here in Hawaii. So it's very important in a lot of the areas where it's easy to get to, you can't get opihi anymore. So it's excellent to know that in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, they're thriving on, they need to have rocky substrates. So that's the first couple of islands. And so we go up there, we count them, we study them, both from Western science and traditional knowledge, traditional practitioners. And so that's a picture from that expedition that returned only a couple of weeks ago.
And opihi were a very important food source for Native Hawaiians and have, as you mentioned, become a lot more scarce. What does it mean for culturally to find these?
Well, you can't practice your culture if there's no materials to practice with, right? So we have to do a better job of managing our own resources here in the main Hawaiian Islands. One of the things that we've learned recently from these opihi studies is that they have a very short span in their life cycle where they're mobile. And so if it's 48 hours, right? If they don't find a place to attach within 48 hours, basically
They die.
that population is gone.
Wow.
So we now know that the island of Hawaii is pretty much responsible for its own recruitment and its own replenishment. Maui Nui, which is Maui, Molokai, and Lanai, is sort of this in this same situation. Oahu is all alone. So if we don't take care of our resources on Oahu, we'll never get recruitment from the neighbor islands in any significant numbers, and then Kauai is on its own.
Well,
Now,
when we come back from a break, I want you to tell me more about what's specifically we have to look at to save.
Sure.
So we'll be right back. Hold on to your seats, and we'll be back with Sustainable Hawaii.
Hi, I'm Ethan Allen, host of Likeable Science here on ThinkTechHawaii.com. I hope you'll join me every Friday at 2 p.m. to discover what's likable about science.
Aloha, this is Maria Mera, and I'm here to invite you to my bilingual show, Viva Hawaii on Think Tech Hawaii, every other Monday at 3 p.m. We're here to inform, motivate, and entertain you. Join us. Hola, soy María Mera y estoy aquí para invitaros a mi show bilingüe Viva Hawaii en Think Tech Hawaii cada 2 lunes a las 3 de la tarde. Estamos aquí para informaros, motivaros y entreteneros. Apuntaros.
I'm Jay Fidel, and I'm the host of Research in Manoa, Mondays from 12 to 1 on ThinkTechHawaii.com. Take a look at us and learn about geophysics, learn about planetology, learn about the ocean and earth sciences at UH Manoa. You'll really enjoy it. So come around, we'll see you then.
Aloha, I'm Chantal Seville. the host of the Savvy Chick Show, which you can watch every Wednesday at 11 a.m. on thinktechhawaii.com. On the Savvy Chick Show, we are all about inspiring and empowering women and girls to be the best they can be by having amazing guests from all around the world. So we hope you'll join us every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Aloha!
Hi, we're back with Sustainable Hawaii. William Aila and Andy Collins are here to tell us all about Papahanaumokuakea National Marine Sanctuary. And we were just speaking before the break about some of the threats that we're finding. Andy, would you guide us through a couple of those things? And you brought some great slides that illustrate.
Yeah, I'll just give you the bigger picture first. So there's three primary top threats that we see to Papahanaumokuakea. There's marine debris, and there's alien invasive species. These are species that shouldn't be there and are displacing other species, and climate change. But I think what we're going to talk about with some of these slides is marine debris, because it's something that people can relate to. These items that we're finding in birds, seabirds that have died in the monument, as well as in fishes.
I believe this is an albatross.
This is an albatross. This is a Laysan albatross, and all those materials, including a lighter, you see some fishing gear, the oyster separators, a bottle cap. This is all found inside of the one bird. And pretty much every bird that you find on the ground that is deceased, a lot of them die of natural causes, but if you open up any of them, every single one of them has plastic in it. And the challenge with plastic is that it's a material that's become extremely important to our society. We use it in everything. It's in my shirt. It's in everything. And yet, oftentimes we use that material for a disposable purpose. We use one of the most durable materials on the planet for a disposable purpose. You walk into 7-Eleven, you get that water, it's a water bottle, you've used it for 15 seconds, and then you throw it away.
And this one is of the microfilaments of the plastic, right? So
yeah.
How are these little tiny pieces dangerous?
Well, they're dangerous because fish are actually eating these things. They consider it part of the food system.
Do they mistake it for plankton?
I don't think they mistake it for anything. They open their mouths, they're swimming, they're filter feeders, a lot of them are, and so what's happening with the microplastics is people say, well, plastics do break down. We have even biodegradable plastics. Unfortunately, what happens most of the time is that degrades down into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces till we don't see them anymore. But fish and zooplankton, things that are operating at a much smaller level scale within the marine system, are consuming those and considering them food, and it's not food.
So many of the important findings like these are happening at the National Marine Sanctuary at Papahanaumokuakea, right? And so we know that makes it so important, as well as being potentially, hopefully, hanging on longer than any other reefs. So
well, it's also very important that plastic is something that we all can do something about, right?
Yeah.
We can ensure that it doesn't enter into the ocean through the streams or through storm drains. So it's something that we have control over. So we have the power to fix it or cause it. It's up to us.
So no more use those plastics.
Or make sure that they're disposed of properly, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Or just don't use. The thing I push with we're really not going to stop using plastics. I really don't foresee that. It's like in every part of our culture, but we shouldn't use that durable material for a disposable purpose, for a single-use purpose. Yes, so we have to re-envision how we're relating to these materials, and that's important.
And we also need to make sure that the marine sanctuary is protected and, I understand, expanded so that we can protect more and more of our oceans.
Yeah, so
Tell me about the expansion.
So again, here we have a process where humans are in control of two of the three things, and actually the third two. And climate change is obviously, we're having a huge impact on that. So the proposal to expand the current Papahanaumokuakea from 50 miles on each side of emergent land up there to 200 miles on each side of emergent land is particularly directed at protecting a larger scale area, including all of the new species that are being found. So it's not just protecting overfishing, it's about protecting ocean mining. It's about protecting on the northern edge of what could become the new boundary. We have a huge maritime culture treasure up there, the Battle of Midway. We have 3 Japanese sunken aircraft carriers. We have one U.S. aircraft carrier that sunk out there in the Battle of Midway. So the protection is something that's comprehensive. A lot of people focus on you're just stopping fishing, and the answer is no. We're hoping to prevent ocean mining. We're hoping to protect the maritime cultural artifacts out there, and we're hoping to protect the seabed and the unique organisms that live there. Hopefully with the intent that a large intact marine protected area helps to buffer against climate change. Again, I go back to, if the ocean temperature rises to the point where it becomes extremely destructive to coral reefs, and the ocean warms as it moves northward, the corals that we have now, those warmer waters in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, in Papahanaumokuakea, become a potential place for them to seek refuge and continue to survive for the time that hopefully when this process is reversed, they can come back out and provide the seed material for a cooler world. And of course, all of the marine animals and invertebrates that are intrinsically tied to the coral reef and the coral types seaweeds that are there, the coralline-based seaweeds, of course, again, I go back to this is our insurance policy. So to give up a little bit of fishery resources today for that, I think is a small cost.
And so there is some opposition from the fisheries, both state and are there also national and international opposition?
No international opposition at this point. The only opposition to Papahanaumokuakea, because the southern eastern boundary does not move closer to any of the inhabited islands, Ni'ihau and Kauai, it doesn't impact the small local boat fishermen other than access to a weather buoy on the north side, which we understand that the Office of Environmental Quality and the President is considering some sort of action to allow them to continue fishing. So the only group that is impacted is some longline fishing that occurs that represents maybe 5 to 8% of the total effort. So if you picture, if it's 5%, 95% of their other fishing effort occurs outside of the EEZ. So it's not a big loss for them, although they're presenting it as. One interesting thing we learned at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs hearing when they chose to support the expansion of Papahanaumokuakea was from a gentleman who is managing the United Fishing Agency auction block. And so almost 50% of the longline catch that's landed in Hawaii is not sold in Hawaii. It actually leaves. It's exported to Japan, it's exported to the continental United States and other markets. So the argument about there's going to be less fish for Hawaii consumers is a very shallow argument.
Well, and that also explains why our fish prices are sometimes higher
and absolutely,
than on the mainland.
Of course, because they're willing to pay more. So that commodity is going to move there. What most people don't understand, especially a lot of folks like myself that eat poke, is that fish that's being exported out of here, which is fish caught around our islands, is being replaced by a frozen product that's treated with gas that's a lot less healthy for us. So when you go to the store and you order poke, you look at the tag. And so if it says imported ahi or imported fish for poke products, that's very likely fish that has been previously frozen, a lower quality, has been gassed so that the red color returns and then it's sold to us. So it's a very shallow argument that they use about local consumers not having the availability of that fish.
That's a very important point and not something we're all aware of.
Correct.
So thank you for clarifying that. I understand that there are also impacts that Papahanaumokuakea has been having on developing natural marine sanctuaries around the world. And we had a slide up earlier that was demonstrating that. Tell me a little bit, Andy, about the importance of the marine sanctuary for the rest of the oceans.
Yeah, well, you have a kind of a timeline here. 1976 or so, the Great Barrier Reef was established, and then you didn't have really any action around the world in terms of large-scale marine protected areas until 2000, 2001, when the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands Coral Reef Ecosystem Reserve came online. And since then, since 2006, we've had over a dozen large-scale, over 100,000 square mile
Maybe
marine
we could see
protected
that
areas.
slide again, the last one. Yeah.
And I think so the ones that are outlined in red are those large-scale marine protected areas. And really what you're seeing is that our knowledge of the ocean is becoming better, but more importantly, we thought what was an unlimited, completely perfect resource is not so perfect and is not so unlimited. And people are seeing that around the world, and they're making these political decisions to create large-scale marine protected areas to provide insurance for the future for their areas and for even the larger scale ocean areas. So we like to think that we, as forming Papahanaumokuakea, spawned that, and the Big Ocean Managers, Big Ocean Manager Learning Network helped to expand that in different areas, and we've really seen that, and I think it's a good step. I said earlier, only 2%, a little over 2% of our oceans are protected, so is that too much to ask, to expand, to have areas? And interestingly enough, when President Bush established Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument, he said, we have to use the lands and seas wisely, and in some cases not use them at all, which is kind of a surprise for me to hear President Bush say that, but that's really where we're at, I think. We have to make those kinds of decisions.
Well, in the last half a minute that we have, William, will you give some direction and guidance to our audience about how they can help preserve the marine sanctuary and our oceans, our shorelines?
Right now, we're encourage everyone to write the president and encourage him to be bold and to expand Papahanaumokuakea and come to Hawaii during the World Conservation Congress on September 1 and make that announcement. As Andy said, we have heard from many, many other countries around the world. The creation of Papahanaumokuakea actually spurned the desire to protect more for their country's oceans. We believe that President Obama, in creating the largest marine protected area in the world once again, will spur another group of countries possibly expanding their monuments, and the very least that could happen is that we would have additional protections and there would be resources for our children and grandchildren. That's the worst case scenario that could happen.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us, and I look forward to jumping in the ocean tomorrow, and we'll all celebrate World Oceans Day. Mahalo.